welcome to the weekend edition of The Buck Stops Here. I'm Sarah Jacob. It's now exactly 1 week since the flood waters of the Jhelum and the Chenab ravaged Jammu and Kashmir. Chief Minister Omar Abdullah held an all-party meeting in Srinagar today to assess the situation. Officials say over 200 people have been killed in the worst floods in the state in over a century. Nearly 2 lakhs are still stranded. Coming up on the show are our reporters who've been on the ground reporting on the aftermath of these floods, the worst the state has seen in over 100 years. Sudhir Ranjan Sen is in Jammu. Anchal Vora will join us from Srinagar. But first, a report from Kashmir, where even miracle rescues are no guarantee of happy endings. After an extraordinary rescue of a little baby, no older than a few days, from the GB Pant Children's Hospital, the army does not know who the child's parents are or whether they're even alive. Will he be nobody's child or will he find a home? Barkhatat now reports from the intensive care unit of the Army Base Hospital in Srinagar on how children have been the worst hit by this crisis. 50 children are admitted, 10 are in an extremely critical condition.
He is nobody's child, literally. At one level, he is the story of hope in the midst of despair. An infant who is just a few days old, rescued in a miraculous army operation. But when he was saved from the now deserted and desolate children's medical facility at the GB Pant Hospital in Srinagar, along with 300 other children, doctors were not able to track down his parents. Today, no one knows his name or whether anyone will even come forward to claim the baby.
This child is just a few days old, and he was evacuated on the very first day in early morning hours when GB Pant Hospital went underwater. We sent a rescue team to bring out babies who were being treated at GB Pant. This child came from there. Unfortunately, once we settled down the children, we could not find any of the parents of this child. The child is being looked after by the hospital staff and the nursing staff of this hospital. But I hope somebody would one day come and claim his baby.
But the army will look after the baby till then?
Look after as long as we can possibly.
And is he in good health condition?
He's in good health. He's in perfect health. He's being looked after. And we hope one day somebody will come and claim the baby.
So he will stay with you till then?
He will stay with us.
For now, he is safe. But what happens next is uncertain, especially if his family is not found. When the army evacuated the GB Pant Children's Hospital, the priority was to rescue babies and then women. Men were brought out last. So the army is not sure whether this baby's father died as the waters enveloped the Pant Hospital or whether he might just be stranded somewhere and alive. Mercifully, the infant is in good health, oblivious to the death and devastation from which he was brought out alive, and even betraying the hint of a smile as he rests against his orange and pink blankets. But the army knows it cannot keep the child with them forever. Will this baby find a home is the unspoken question in the intensive care unit. We are at the army's main hospital in the Badami Bagh cantonment area. Almost a week after the floods hit, parts of the cantonment are still underwater, including all roads from the city's airport to the army base. The only way to get to the cantonment is to take a 10-minute ride on an army chopper from the old airfield. Choppers bring soldiers and relief to and fro, making dozens of sorties in the matter of a few hours. From these heights you can see the giant marsh, the wasteland that Srinagar has become. Inside the hospital at the cantonment, local Kashmiri doctors from the Children's Hospital, among the real hero of this crisis, have doubled up to help the army doctors in attending to hundreds of unwell infants and toddlers. 50 children are still not out of danger. 10 of them are in a critical condition. Some of the children have had to be flown in from the flood-torn and remote region of South Kashmir, an area worst hit by the floods. This little girl, Anika, barely 5 years old, is having trouble breathing. She rasps for breath, trembling with the pneumonia that the doctors believe she has contracted in the floods. Her mother has not left her side for 5 days. Heartbroken and scared, she breaks down in a stream of helpless tears. We try and tell her that the doctors are hopeful that her daughter will live, but in her eyes you can see that she knows how vulnerable her child is.
अभी ठीक हो जाएगी, ठीक हो जाएगी, ठीक हो जाएगी. चलिए चलिए चलिए. आप बच्चे को देखिए ना, आप मत रोए. बस 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 बस.
The child has been brought with a history of having seizures, that is fits. The baby had fits, and on examination, the child is in encephalopathy and has got pneumonia bilateral.
So you feel that she's picked this up in the floods, and she's been flown from where, ma'am?
She has been flown from Anantnag.
Anantnag.
And she's just been brought now, and she is in respiratory distress. You can hear the sounds. She has got pneumonia, and presently she is in unconscious state. So she has got encephalitis as well because of the infection.
On every bed is a little baby fighting to live, while thousands of migrant workers from Bihar and UP have gathered outside Srinagar's airport in a frantic rush to get out of the state. Inside this hospital, 2 women know they must stay back to save their children. They sit wordlessly in a corner of the ICU, unable to talk, their eyes stoic, their minds too scared to contemplate the worst.
On every hospital bed here at the base hospital of the army in Srinagar is the story of a tragedy, of a family that's battling for the life of their child, heartbroken parents, or there is the story of a miracle, some good news in the midst of all this despair. For example, this lady here who was flown in from South Kashmir because she was about to deliver a baby, and she managed to do so successfully just yesterday. But the news here is not so good. A 5-year-old child here who's battling pneumonia, contracted in the floods, also flown in from Anantnag. And as the army doctors work overtime with the rest of the hospital system in Srinagar under collapse, the most heartbreaking story of all, this little baby whose parents have simply gone missing.
Nature's fury has been compounded by man-made carelessness to leave Kashmir's children the most fragile and also the worst hit. Even when lives are saved, there may be no happy endings, like this 4-year-old baby who waits for a family to call him their own. In Srinagar, with Manoj Thakur, Noman Siddiqui and Manu Nair, Barkha Dutt for NDTV.
Reporting on hope amidst all that despair. Let's just go across now to our reporters. Anchal in Srinagar, Sudhi in Jammu. Sudhi, first to you. It's been now 7 days. Things are slowly limping back to normalcy, whatever you can call that under the circumstances. Phone links are largely being restored. Receding waters in many areas is now beginning to reveal the real extent of the devastation. And with waters receding, is the focus now shifting to rehabilitation?
Well, yes, I mean, the entire now focus slowly shifting away from evacuating people to rehabilitation, from wenching up people on helicopters and bringing them to dry ground. It's now rehabilitation, and that will be the big question in front of the state government. Because mind you, the state government has come under a lot of flack for not being present, for not, being absent completely during the floods. And as the road linkages open up and as we are able to travel into the interior parts of Jammu and Kashmir, more and more damage is becoming apparent. It's coming out into the fore. Even today, according to figures that I have been able to gather, about 2 lakhs to 1.75 to about 2 lakhs people still who are in danger need to be evacuated. The Indian Air Force has carried out something around 1,700 sorties in the last 7 days. The NDRF has recovered, rescued about 42,000 people. The Indian Army over 1 lakh of people. Now the entire focus is moving into rehabilitation. The state government will have to step in. And as we traveled into the interiors, we find more destruction, more damage. In fact, today we were able to visit a BSF border outpost, and we found the kind of damage and the kind of circumstances that the boys of the BSF are standing guard at the line of control. Let's just listen in. It is past midday. A BSF patrol is going out along the international border. For the last 15 days since the deluge, large parts of the fence have been washed away. Other areas like this are waterlogged. The Pakistan post on the other side is just a few meters away. Not only have there been several ceasefire violations in this area in the last few months, there have been several infiltration attempts too. This is routine for the BSF. At least 6 to 7 times every day, BSF patrols like this go out, checking on the border fence, the border pillar posts, and also trying to verify whether or not anybody has tried to breach the fence. As the men patrol the watery stretch, sharp eyes scan the horizon. The vigil has been increased since the floods.
ऐसा था कि जब काफ़ी पानी यहाँ पर भर चुका था तो उस समय हमने जो हाई ग्राउंड थे हमारे उन्हें ऑक्यूपाई कर रखा था और उन्हीं पर बैठ के अपने जो सर्विलेंस इक्विपमेंट है पूरे एरिया को हमने कवर किया और जैसे जैसे पानी घटता गया फिर उसी तरह से पेट्रोलिंग हमारा जो रूटीन प्रोग्राम थे उसी के मुताबिक पूरे एरिया को पेट्रोलिंग करते रहे जैसा आपने आज देखा इसी तरह से हमारा रूटीन प्रोग्राम है पानी के अंदर ही पेट्रोलिंग जाएगी ही जाएगी.
The damage to bunkers, fortifications still visible, although much of it has been repaired in the last few days. While some patrol the border, others just pack, dry themselves, ready to go back into the slush and water in just a few hours' time. With camera person Darshan Kumar, Shruti Ranjan Sen for NDTV. The Jammu-Srinagar highway is still closed. A huge landslide at Ramsu has blocked the entire highway. But that hasn't stopped people. In fact, some time ago, we were able to visit Ramban. And this is what we found. It started as a trickle, now it's a deluge. These are migrant workers fleeing the Kashmir Valley. Their numbers are swelling every minute. The Jammu-Srinagar road is blocked. Huge landslides at Ramsu have cut off road links to the valley. So they've made it on foot.
When we saw them, thousands of people coming by foot and under great distress, the army quickly swung into action. In coordination with the civil administration, we are running langars at this place at Ramsu as well as at Ramban. We also established 3 medical camps and provided water. And a lot of people who are sick and coming from the valley, so we're giving them the first aid.
Srinagar may be cut off, the valley may be cut off, but that hasn't stopped thousands and thousands of people walking across the mountains. Sheer grit and sheer determination, sheer survival has pushed them to walk over the mountains and reach Jammu.
आज 3 रोज का खाना खाए हुए हैं.
Many of them have walked for days without food or water. Some were even forced to leave, carrying with them all they could have or whatever they could save. By nightfall, the line is about a kilometer long. Each one of them has a different story to tell.
मोबाइल बेचकर हम लोग किराया करके आए. लोगों को एक रात रहा वहाँ पे, फिर वहाँ से पुलिस वाले ने हमको, हम सब जितना था ना वहाँ पे करीब 1500 आदमी, वहाँ से सबको डंडे मार मार के निकाला बाहर.
Most of them are daily laborers from Bihar, West Bengal, UP, Madhya Pradesh, who had come to the valley for work. Now they return empty-handed.
वो लोग का भी मजबूरी था, इसलिए हम लोग बोले कि इस बार नहीं है, कुछ दिया, कुछ छोड़ा. ना पैसा कोड़ी पाए.
This is a makeshift camp at Ramban. The Indian Army, local administration, police, and the local people have all come together to feed these people. Before they are put on buses and sent to the Udhampur railway and bus stations, from where they will make their way back home. Death, destruction, despair, followed by kindness and selfless service. In Ramban, with Darshan Kumar, Shruti Ranjan Sen for NDTV.
Thank you for that heartbreaking story. So the life, fate, fortunes, all of that changed overnight for these thousands of labourers from across the rest of India. Thanks for joining us. Anchal Vora is there in Srinagar. Let's go across to Anchal. Anchal, the state government has come in for some criticism for not being very visible in the initial days of this crisis, seems to have swung into action. There was an all-party meeting that took place today. What was the outcome of this meeting convened by the Chief Minister Omar Abdullah?
Well, Sarah, a resolution was shared. The resolution of the meeting was shared with the press, and it essentially said that all parties of Jammu and Kashmir are grateful to the efforts of the Indian Armed Forces for carrying out the relief and rescue missions, and also said that this is not the time that not a time to indulge in politics, and Jammu and Kashmir should stand together in fighting this humanitarian crisis. You're right when you say that the state government was not visible initially, but over the last 3 days we see that the Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has been addressing the press every day, something that a lot of us journalists had asked him, why was he not talking to the press earlier? So there is a briefing every day. He spoke at length with us journalists and discussed the measures the state government has now started taking. He said he spoke on the relief that's needed in the valley right now, and the message essentially he wants to send out to anybody who wants to donate, any agencies or people, is that if we can pack rice, pulses, oil, sugar and salt in one pack and send that, then that is going to be helping people who are stranded, and it would allow them to cook on their rooftops or in their homes, wherever they are. Of course, the other relief agencies say that if ready to eat packed food could be dropped, would be good as well. Chief Minister also spoke about other things, but we visited Dal Lake today, Sarah, after us being here for 7 days now. Today we could manage to get to Dal Lake. The houseboat owners very angry with the new government and say that they have not received any relief so far. The Chief Minister, we put up this question too, and he said the government slowly but surely will reach everybody who is in need at this hour. Sarah Jacob?
All right. Thanks, Anchal, for joining us with that comprehensive report of the update for the day. We also know that you earlier spoke in the day with the DG of the NDRF. Is that correct? What did he have to say?
Well, the DG of the NDRF spoke to us about, their efforts, and he said every rescue and relief mission is difficult, and this one is difficult as well. But what he told us was pretty shocking. He said some of the shikara walas were actually asking the tourists who were stuck a lot of money to take them to the safe shores. Though we met a shikara wala who didn't ask us for any money. Let's just listen in to that conversation I had with DG OP Singh. With us, DG of NDRF, Mr. Singh. Let's speak to him to find out how the operations are going, sir.
They're going all right. We have already saved close to 40,000 people so far, and now we are concentrating more on the relief works. And today so far we have already given relief up to the tune of 34 tons of relief material. They are medicines, they are foodstuffs, they are water bottles and so on.
So I went to Dal Lake today and I met, people who live in houseboats and own them as well. And there they said that they have not got any relief at all and that they really wanted it. And I spoke to your NDRF person, deputed. He said he's been asked not to distribute any relief but just to evacuate people.
No, it's not correct. We are reaching out to each and every person. We are giving relief work to everyone. In fact, the boatmen have different problems. They are trying to resist our operations simply because they want exorbitant prices from the tourists to just ferry them from one place to another. We want that they should be taken out first. This is a case of priority. In a crowd of 100 or 200 people, I mean, NDRF boat has a capacity of 10 to 15 people at a time. So naturally, when the boat arrives there, all of them just rush towards the boat. And it's not humanly possible for each one of them to be lifted at the same time.
My last question, sir, how long do you reckon this operation is going to continue? The water levels receding in the areas. How do you see how long is this going to go on?
No, it's difficult to set any time frame. Rescue has been achieved to a large extent. Concentrating on relief work is our top priority. We would like to reach out to everyone so far as the relief material is concerned. But it will take time. It will take another couple of days to really wind up everything and go back.
All right, thanks, Anchal. It's in time of crisis that all sides of human character comes out. Well, We'd like to end the show, and we're happy to end tonight's show with a heartening story of a Kashmiri from Geneva called Amir Bhatt, whose parents recently went missing in the valley, and he was so desperate that he decided to bring a boat from Geneva to rescue them. The boat belonged to the lifeguards at the Lake Geneva, and Amir had requested them to lend him a boat. But when they saw pictures and realized the magnitude of the tragedy unfolding in Kashmir, they gifted the boat to him. The boat was assembled in Srinagar by some NDRF men. Here's a look at what happened next.
One of the things that we discovered while covering the floods in Srinagar was that there's a huge paucity of boats. So what Amir did was to buy his own boat in Switzerland and bring it down here.
Yeah, this is an amazing story as well in terms of buying. I did not buy the boat. Actually, what happened is that there's a Lake Geneva in where I live. I live in Geneva, and there's a Lake Geneva. I had a friend there, and I asked him. I said, "Listen, I need a boat. This is absolutely right now an emergency in Kashmir." So he said, "Look, I don't have a boats. We do have a boats, but I cannot give it to you this boat because this is in service." I told him, "Listen, I'm going to show you the pictures. Look at the pictures." And there were these pictures from the disaster here happening. And then he finally, his heart started melting. You know, it's Swiss people. You know, they are very kind-hearted people.
Yeah. So what was he using the boat for? It was
rescue in the lake. They use it
in Geneva.
In Geneva Lake, yes. Oh. So they said this is for our rescue.
He was like a lifesaver or something.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Lifeguard.
So I showed him the pictures, and the amazing thing is he said, "Okay, I'm gonna," when he saw the pictures and he saw little kids and babies and everything, he said, "Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you this boat." So finally, he disassembled the boat, and then he showed me for 1 hour how to assemble the boat. And of course, I paid some little bit of money on top of that because it's not cheap. Yeah. So I give him some money, and as well as there were some more people, and they also said, "Listen," when they saw this, they said, "We're gonna pay some of the money of what you're going to pay. So let's cut it half and half." So they paid some money of that as
lovely.
well.
So
it was beautiful.
So a boat from the Swiss people for Srinagar.
Absolutely.
And what's interesting though, the other kind of irony in this is that Amir in the end didn't need the boat to rescue his parents.
Absolutely not, because it was rescued. They were rescued by the Indian Army, and I must say that thank you so much. This is really from my heart to the Indian Army, that the service they are doing here. It's absolutely amazing. We are very thankful.
And that's not all. Since Amir found his parents before that boat could be brought in and assembled, he's now left it behind for others to use. That's it from me, but stay tuned to NDTV because we're continuing with our comprehensive coverage of these floods in Jammu and Kashmir. Coming up after the break, special reports, special programming of Paradise Underwater. Stay tuned. Good night.